17-year-old Stella spends most of her time in the hospital as a cystic fibrosis. Her life is full of routine, boundaries, and self control, all of which get put to the test when she meets Will, an impossibly charming teen who has the same illness. There's an instant flirtation to restrictions, and they must maintain a safe distance between them. As their connection intensifies, so does the temptation to throw the rules out the window and embrace that attraction. The cast of this movie is Haley Lou Richardson as Stella, Cole Sprouse as Will, Moses Arias as Poe, Kimberly Herbert Gregory as Barb, directed by Justin Baldoni. This movie came out in 2019. It's rated M. The duration is 1 hour and 56 minutes. And it's a drama romantic movie. Look, guys, I'm going to tell you straight up. This is a really, 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 really moving movie. If you are into that kind of thing, it's a sad movie, a very, very sad movie, and it's a very eye opening movie for people who feel disconnected to touch, if that makes sense. There's moments in this movie that have incredibly, intensively, powerfully moving, full on moments where you just feel for the character to such a degree that your heart breaks for the character. Your heart really, really, really just wants that character to have something great happen to that character, to have that character be able to express what we take for granted. Guys, as you know, anyone who's been following from me for any period of time, they know that I like to talk about the bad things about a movie, and then I like to talk about a good thing. And one of the bad things about this movie that I want to talk about is the fact that it feels like the movie doesn't really go anywhere. It's a lovely, beautiful, powerful movie, but it feels like it actually doesn't eventuate into anything. And that's the biggest thing that drops the ball in this movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's a very moving movie. It's a very heartfelt movie. But in terms of elevation, there's a couple of scenes in this movie that you're like, oh wow, that really just happened. Oh, that's really sad. But what happens right at the end of the movie, I never spoil anything in my reviews, but what happens right at the end of the movie is what you don't actually think is going to happen. And you're like, oh. And it kind of is like a build up to nothing. And it's kind of a letdown. It's not a bad movie. It has rewatchability to it, but it's nothing compared to what you would normally see in a beautiful movie like this, if that makes sense. It's a really lovely movie, guys. It really is. But it's just, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. It's not something that you want to go, oh my gosh, I need to see that again right now because it's so beautiful. I remember when this was on in cinemas, I didn't want to see it in cinemas because I didn't really care for it. It didn't really bother me. I purely watched this because my wife wanted to watch it, and so I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it with you. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did because it's not a crap film. In saying that, there were several scenes in this movie that I was like, for real, like nodding off because it just dragged. This movie easily could have got cut down to an hour and a half. Easily. Maybe even less than that, really. A few scenes dragged on, and you're like, oh man, make something happen already. The scenes where she's anal is kind of drawn out, and it's like, you know, the two main characters of this are actually from a lot of Disney shows, and that's what made me go, oh, okay, right, that kind of made sense of this. Anyway, guys, for any of you who's been following me a period of time, you know that I like trivia. So here's a bit of trivia for you guys for this movie. The film partners with Claire's Place Foundation, a charity providing families with financial and emotional support. They wanted to do this so that the characters would work closely and get the real authenticness out of the characters. Anyway, guys, have you seen 5 Feet Apart? What did you think of 5 Feet Apart? It wouldn't surprise me if you haven't seen it because it's a kind of romantic, soppy movie. Anyway, you might have seen this movie. Guys, what did you think about this movie? If you like this movie, please leave your comments down below. I'd really appreciate your feedback. If you have thoughts on any other movie that you'd like to be reviewed and you haven't seen, or you have seen and you want other thoughts about people's thoughts about it, please leave it in the comment below. I really appreciate it. If you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe already. I really appreciate that. Please leave a like on this review. I'd really appreciate that, and click the bell for notifications. Until my next review, this is Superman Steve flying out.